Good evening and welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. I'm TW Shannon. I'm in for Rob all evening. Tonight we start with a sentence that you're never going to hear on CNN or MSNBC or anywhere from the radical left or their media propaganda puppets. That phrase, Christian lives matter. Thank God we have a president who again believes this. This week, President Trump ordered targeted strikes in Nigeria to protect Christians being hunted, burned alive, and driven from their churches. Notice the silence from the left. It's pretty deafening. There are no candlelight vigils, no trending hashtags. There's no mobs marching in the street. In fact, I haven't seen a single MSNBC panel even condemning the slaughter of Christians by radical Islamists. Black thugs and illegal aliens matter to the radical left. But they couldn't care less about Christian children being kidnapped, raped, and murdered. Instead, they just mock and downplay the threat.
I think our reason for bombing is kind of strange, that somehow there's Christian genocide. I don't think there's any proof of that.
I mean, lady, come on, no proof of Christian genocide? Tell that to the more than 300 Catholic school children who were abducted in Nigeria just last month, who just this week were been returned home safely. Now, it's estimated that up to 100,000 Christians have been slaughtered in Nigeria alone since 2009, and more than 19,000 churches have been burned throughout that country. Thank God President Trump cares. And let's be clear, this wasn't about empire, nor about oil, or even regime change. This was about a president saying, if you're murdering people because they worship Christ, America will no longer look the other way. He has made this very clear, warning Islamic terrorists that if the killing of Christians didn't stop, there would be severe consequences.
I'm Nigerian. I wanted to ask you, do you envisage US boots on the ground?
Could be. I mean, a lot of things I envisage, a lot of things. They're killing record numbers of Christians. They're killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Listen, friends, that's not controversial. That's moral clarity. And it's exactly why President Trump didn't just talk about religious liberty. The man institutionalized it. He restored the White House Faith Office, put it where it belongs, inside the West Wing, and he even empowered it under Paula White, who is quietly leading a revival in the United States alongside other great believers like Alveda King and Dr. Ben Carson. Under this administration, the Christian faith isn't something you whisper about in the hallway. It's something you bring straight into the Oval Office. Now let's pivot for a minute, because while Christians are certainly being murdered abroad, Jews are being harassed, threatened, and assaulted right here in the United States of America. We all know that anti-Semitism is no longer hiding in the shadows. It's actually marching through campuses. It's even proudly wearing hijabs in Congress. Anti-Semitism in the United States has jumped a staggering 1,900% in a decade. And anti-Semitism, that is not America first. It's in fact the new currency of the progressive left. If you find yourself on the same side on this issue with AOC and Ilhan Omar and the Jihad Squad, then you've probably just lost your way. President Trump isn't leading the way. President Trump is leading the way in the right direction. His administration has been the most pro-Christian, pro-Jewish, pro-religious liberty administration in modern history. And it's not even close. The president moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He's battling anti-Semitism on campuses, and he's defending Israel unapologetically. They're protecting Christians globally, and through all these actions, President Trump is saying something radical in today's America. Faith is not a threat. Faith is our foundation. So tonight, remember this. When Christians are attacked, President Trump will act. When Jews are targeted, President Trump will act. That's not just leadership, that's conviction. May God bless President Trump. Happy New Year to you, America. Father Gerald Murray, pastor at St. Joseph's Church here in New York City, joins us now. Father, President Trump struck these anti-Christian terrorists on Christmas Day, and the strikes we know originally were set to take place on Christian Eve, but the president ordered a delay for real symbolic reasons, saying, quote, they were going to do it earlier, and I said, nope, let's give a Christmas present. They didn't think that was coming, but we hit them hard. Every camp got decimated. What's your reaction to the president's response on protecting and saving so many Christian lives, Father?
I'm grateful to the president and to our military because they're defending innocent lives. They're defending men, women, and children who are going to church, carrying on their lives, wanting to worship God in peace. and yet the Islamic fanatics of ISIS continue to kill and rape and murder in Nigeria. I'll note that the Nigerian government approved of and was part of this whole discussion, so they're happy that Trump did this. This is a good thing. War is something we regret. We don't like to use military force, but you have to use it when people are being threatened by these criminal and murderous elements.
No, you're exactly right, Father. You know, this president has made religious liberty a focal point of his administration, and I think many of us have been waiting for some action for these Christians around the globe, and it sends a clear message. But we know also that here in the United States, churches have been struggling in recent years to find people to actually bring into the church and to grow their numbers. But there's a new study out that for the first time in decades, younger adults, Generation Z and millennials, are now the most regular churchgoers, even outpacing older generations who once formed the backbone of church attendance. Now, what do you credit this to, Father? Do you think President Trump or organizations like Turning Point USA with the resurgence of faith in young generations? How do you explain this marvel of people coming back to church?
Well, I'll say, first, it's the grace of God, of course, because he moves hearts and souls. Amen. But then he has these instruments on earth, such as Charlie Kirk, and his heinous murder woke people up to say that someone who is focusing young people's attention on the eternal truths and questioning, how am I supposed to live? How am I supposed to treat my neighbor? What is the basis of our laws and customs in the U.S.? And he very clearly was teaching that this is a country founded on Christian principles in which we respect other people and we follow the law of God, and we try to create a society that's based on divine justice. So, no, I'm very pleased that people are coming back to church, because as a priest, I can tell you, the only piece of soul that you get is what comes from heaven. Everything else is, a false trail.
Amen. Father, we got about 25 seconds for you. What's your closing message to people? Holidays, a lot of us were able to celebrate, but there are a lot of people who are hurting right now, and there's a lot of sadness that comes sometimes. What's your closing message to those folks right now?
Yeah, my closing message: show love to your neighbor, pray for your neighbor, be kind, but most of all, pray to God, because prayerful people are the ones who reform society, and that's what we need to be doing.
Amen. Father Gerald, it happens after prayer. We appreciate you so much, Father Gerald Murray.
Thank you, TW.
All right, we're joined now by Tudor Dixon, host of the Tudor Dixon podcast. She's with us. Tudor, I want to continue this conversation of a resurgence in faith among younger generations. Now, there's a Pew Research study that has found that religion is regaining influence in American life. In February of 2024, there was a report that 18% of U.S. adults said religion had influence in their life. Just 1 year later, after President Trump's elected, there is a 31%. That number's at 31%. This is the highest number that Pew has seen in 15 years. What do you credit this resurgence of faith to, Tudor?
Well, I absolutely do believe that it has a lot to do with the messages that were going out after Charlie's death. Charlie had such a big impact with the words that he spoke while he was alive, but then those words really traveled far and wide after his death. And then we saw the largest church service we've ever seen broadcast when they had his memorial service. And I think that made people realize that when we lose someone, we still feel hope. We still feel love, because we know the love of God. We know the hope of heaven. We know the hope of Jesus Christ. And I think that made people go, wow, they have something that I really want. I want to experience that. I want to know that I feel empty.
I think you're right, Kate. I think you're so right. I do want to bring in now Katie Zacharia. She's joining us now. She's a legal and political strategist who's with us. Katie, question to you. I want to ask you about these strikes in Nigeria. President Trump made it very clear in a Truth Social post it was due to the attacks on Christians in the country. Now, the Nigerian government helped coordinate the attacks, but pushing back on the characterization, saying the government considers the repeated emphasis on Christian killings as needless because terrorists don't target any particular religion. They claim terrorists don't target religions. However, we've seen the number that contradicts them. What are your thoughts about this response from the Nigerian government?
Well, we know that terrorists target religious groups of people, and it's happened time and time again, and it's from centuries old. And so that response is a little bit disingenuous, and also you have to have some kind of cognitive dissonance to see they're supporting President Trump on one hand with the strikes, yet they don't want to say that there's targeted killings. Perhaps that elevates the need for them to respond stronger and come out much harsher. But I'm so grateful for President Trump, his decisive response. We finally have a commander-in-chief that is going to act quickly and say exactly why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Speaking with moral clarity, it matters. It matters to the world, especially when you're the leader of the free world. But Tudor, we did see first that the left defended criminal illegals, and now they're letting their Trump derangement syndrome seem to get the best of them as they try to defend these ISIS terrorists. Harry Sisson, a notorious leftist TikTok influencer, posted on X saying, "Trump just bombed Nigeria on Christmas Day. What happened to no more wars?" Now, in my opinion, I think there's a difference between defending Christians worldwide by bombing ISIS terrorists and starting a war. What say you?
I would say this is an example of their ignorance when it comes to genocide. We've heard them talk about, oh, we don't want genocide, we don't want people murdered, we don't want wars. Sometimes you have to take drastic action to save lives. That's what President Trump is doing. I'd like to educate the Democrats on this. This is how you take care of people. And President Trump went into office saying that he was going to be the president of peace. He saw an area of the world and was willing to be told about this by people even like Nicki Minaj, willing to have that discussion. There are people that are being killed because of their religion, and he said, I'm going to take action. I'm going to make sure that those people are safe. That's the president I want to stand behind, and I wish Harry Sisson would actually get to learn a little bit about how the world works before he went out and just posted whatever he thought on X.
Yeah, Tudor, final words go to you. We know that Nicki Minaj, as Katie mentioned, spoke out against the killings of Christians. What do you think about members of the pop culture, people like pop icons like Nicki Minaj weighing in on such a critical issue? About 30 seconds to you, ma'am.
Anytime you can weigh on something like this, it is important that we hear those voices. You know, we've heard celebrities come out and try to weigh in on politics, but this is life or death. This is the time when it really does matter to come out and say, we need to make sure that we protect life. And I think that was a bold move. I appreciate that she was willing to do it.
Yeah, you're right. Katie, I want to get your final thoughts, too. President Trump is working on institutionalizing religious liberties. He's even bringing faith back to the forefront of society. What do you think should be the next step, ma'am?
President Trump has already taken decisive action in protecting religious liberties. And I think there needs to be a very clear distinction. Protecting religious liberties and what the left wants to dub Christian nationalism are very different things. He's protecting our rights to have a freedom of religion. And that is exactly what he was elected to do. And so, President Trump, thank you. And as we celebrate Christmas, it's not just one sector or, a atheist perspective. Everyone gets to feel free to celebrate their holidays in the United States of America once again.
Such a good point. You know, the idea of, sanctifying and protecting religious liberty, that's what this country was founded on, and that's exactly what we should be focused on. Katie, Zacharia, Tudor Dixon, always a pleasure. Happy New Year to you, ladies.
Happy New Year.
The left is desperate to downplay this show of American strength, but what does this attack on ISIS terrorists mean for our national security? Our experts weigh in, coming up next.
Ring in the new year with our spectacular celebration full of fun, inspiration, and patriotic spirit. Newsmax takes you to the best parties in the USA, from the iconic ball drop at Times Square to Nashville's Big Bash. Join me along with fitness icon Jillian Michaels, Dr. Drew Pinsky, and legendary singer Lee Greenwood. It's a party for the whole family. Laughter, music, and motivation to start 2026 right. Don't miss our New Year's Eve special starting at 8 p.m.
Samaritan's Purse is ready to show the love of Christ to people in the most difficult circumstances. But we can't go without you. With your support, we can build homes, heal hearts, provide critical relief, and bring hope to a world in need. Donate now at SamaritansPurse.org. Let's get to work in Jesus' name.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
Welcome back. I'm TW Shannon in for Rob Schmitt. American strength is back on the world stage. As U.S. forces carried out that deadly strike against ISIS terrorists in Nigeria last night, Secretary of War posting on X saying the president was clear last month. The killing of innocent Christians in Nigeria must end. The Department of War is always ready, so ISIS found out tonight. More to come. That was on Christmas. Hegseth also acknowledging coordination from the Nigerian government, but that was not enough for Democrats in Congress.
The predicate for these strikes has not been established. So we have not been briefed on it yet. I'm concerned about the president making strikes without consulting with Congress and just claiming this is ISIS terrorism. Also, the issue of whether or not it is singularly the killing of Christians is disputed. So again, without the facts, the United States has made these attacks.
Joining me now, Tony Shaffer, president of Project Sentinel, and Walid Phares, Newsmax foreign policy analyst. He joins us. Both are here tonight. Happy New Year to you, gentlemen.
Happy New Year.
Tony, I'm going to start with you. We know Democrats are desperate to downplay the importance of this. What's the significance of these strikes in Nigeria?
It's a continuation of a policy that started long before the Trump administration came in, TW. I commanded the base, operating base Alpha, that focused on intelligence collection and special operations in sub-Saharan Africa. That included all these, Chad, Nigeria, Libya. Let's see, what else? Sudan. So we have seen radical Islam, first Al-Qaeda, now ISIS, metastasize and grow in strength and influence, and they target Christians. So this is not new. This is something we've had an effort going for at least the last 20 years. And this is simply expanding, I think, a righteous and correct policy. And remember, the country knew we were going to do it. We did it in concert with them. We've been working with Nigeria for decades. So I am appalled and not surprised that the Democrats are pushing back against something that clearly was meant to defend those who are innocent
Colonel, I think
and Christian. Right. Trying to just live their lives.
I think you're right. I think most Americans probably agree with you. Walid, now we know China has not yet responded to these strikes, but last month, China's foreign ministry spokesperson said China opposes any country using religion and human rights as an excuse to interfere in other countries' internal affairs, and emphasized that Nigeria must be allowed to handle its own challenges without foreign coercion or threats of force. I mean, China certainly doesn't have any record on human rights or religious protection. What do you make of that comment from the Chinese last month, and do you expect them to weigh in again on this?
Well, my answer is very simple. China and the international community have given the federal government of Nigeria many decades. Just to remind the viewers that the persecution of and the massacres of Christians started to take place as of 66, 68, 1 million members of the Biafra community in the south, where the majority of Christians are, have been killed. Most recently, as the colonel has said, we have been working with the Nigerian government. I've been meeting with Nigerian officers, National Defense University, to discuss the matter.
Wally, what do you make of China's involvement? Do you expect them to weigh in on this in the future?
I don't think China has logistically an ability to go and counter-intervene in Nigeria. Of course, they have the ability to counter our policy, but we are there. President took a very important decision to strike on ISIS affiliates, both in the east and the west of northern Nigeria, and that's the good thing.
Yeah, I agree that is a good thing. Colonel, I want to switch topics a little bit here. You know, President Trump is expected to host Zelensky at Mar-a-Lago on Sunday to try and reach an agreement on the U.S. peace plan to end Russia's war on Ukraine. What do you expect to come from this meeting? I mean, we and I have had this conversation for a little while now. I've been more optimistic than I think you at times. How optimistic are you that we're going to see peace here?
I'm always cautiously optimistic, TW.
Yeah.
So according to the Kiev Post, Zelensky is going to be presenting 20 points, his 20-point peace plan, which is essentially is somewhat different than what President Trump has proposed. Some of this includes essentially economic zones which are free of both sides. Basically, both Ukraine and Russia withdraw to certain border areas, as well as the territorial concessions essentially sets up a demilitarized zone like we see between North and South Korea. So while I'm cautiously optimistic, I know for a fact the Russians, based on their kind of telegraphing what they've said they would accept, this will not go over with the Russians. I'm not sure President Trump will accept them. I kind of doubt it.
Walid, 30 seconds to you. We know Netanyahu's also coming to Mar-a-Lago. What do you expect to see out of that meeting?
Absolutely. Prime Minister of Israel is going to try to get a president to agree with him on certain points. Both of them, Israel and the United States, have a keen interest in making sure that Hamas is not coming back, that Hezbollah is disarmed, and that, of course, the Islamic regime in Iran doesn't bring back any of those toys that they had that the president has destroyed last year. So it is a very important meeting.
It is an important meeting. Well, Colonel Shaffer, always a pleasure to be with you. Walid Phares as well. Thank you, gentlemen. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Governor Newsom's California plagued with fraud. A new audit reporting upwards of $75 billion in misused funds among state agencies. More to come on Rob Schmitt Tonight.
How would you live your life differently if you knew it was only a matter of time before you went completely deaf and blind? I have Usher syndrome, a rare condition that's causing me to lose all of my vision and hearing at the same time. I'm a fighter, trying to hold on to what I still have. But I can't do it alone.
Why are so many dogs dying before their time? In my experience, great health starts with great food. That's why I created Badlands Ranch Superfood Complete. It contains powerful canine superfoods that directly support your dog's digestion, skin and coat, mobility, and so much more.
And it's air dried. That means cooked low and slow, no high heat.
We have thousands of 5-star reviews. And for a limited time, get up to 50% off with our special TV offer. Go to badlandsranch.com/TV. That's badlandsranch.com/TV.
The grind catches up with everyone, even me. That's why I trust Cunol Ultra High Absorption Turmeric to support my joint health. It's the #1 doctor-recommended form of turmeric that helps you keep doing the things you love at every age. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Patriots. America was built by people who believed in something greater than themselves, something worth protecting. Today, one of America's top growing industries is political campaigns, a multi-billion-dollar movement powered by tech, data, and the American people. Meet FullPack, a tech platform trusted by thousands of campaigns nationwide to connect directly with voters. FullPack is expected to begin trading on NASDAQ soon, under the ticker GOTV for Get Out the Vote. But before we begin trading, we're offering a limited number of shares to patriots like you for $5 each, providing your portfolio exposure to this fast-growing market. Capitalism helped build America into the shining beacon on the hill. Now you can own a stake in the heartbeat of America. Visit gotv.com/invest or call 877730-GOTV to learn more.
AI can turn your lights on.
Lights on.
And drive your car. And even write your kid's essay. But AI ain't gonna fix your broken water line or pay for the big repair bill. Having a plan from HomeServe offers real solutions. And when a covered system breaks, we'll send a qualified contractor and pay for the repair. There's nothing artificial about the peace of mind you get with a plan from HomeServe. Getting one is quite intelligent.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $4.99 a month.
Call 1-844-752-2141 or visit homeserve.com.
It's the Blue Compass RV annual Blue Tag clearance. Save over 40% on select new RVs during our largest sale of the year. Plus, every RV comes with a 1-year VIP membership to RV Complete, a $5,000 value. Visit us online or in store today.
Hey everybody, Howard Garrett, the Dirt Doctor here. You know, homeowners, farmers, and ranchers don't want to worry about frozen water supplies. I don't either. Freeze Miser product helps me avoid those. It installs in minutes and activates when the water temperature falls below 37 degrees. The Freeze Miser even works in extreme freezing weather. No batteries or electricity, and it's made in the USA. Available at your favorite retailer or at freezemiser.com. It's the Freeze Miser, and it works.
The Golden State, California, facing major fraud accusations. A state auditor reporting Newsom and 8 agencies in his administration deemed as high risk, exhibiting serious waste, fraud, abuse, or mismanagement of funds up to a staggering $76.5 billion. To put that in perspective, the fraud allegations in California are more than the entire GDP of more than 140 countries worldwide. Now, this report found massive payment errors in the delivery of food assistance, benefits that cost taxpayers $2.5 billion. The report also finding at least $4 billion in questionable payments in the state's Medicaid program due to eligibility discrepancies. Abel Maldonado, former Lieutenant Governor of California, joins me now. Welcome, sir.
TW, thank you for having me.
So, Lieutenant Governor, question to you, $76 billion of fraud in Newsom's government. How does this even get fixed?
It's just unbelievable, TW. You have to understand, Gavin Newsom, as you know, is running for president of the United States of America. And when he was the mayor of San Francisco, he did the same thing. San Francisco was plagued with spending and so forth. And now, look at this, almost $76 billion in fraud paid for by the taxpayers of California. This is a finding by his auditor, TW. This is not an agent. This is his auditor telling America this is how much fraud is in California.
But this guy is pretty slick, right, Governor? I mean, this is a guy who's able to weasel his way around, and he can pretty much explain anything. But $76 billion is a big number. How does he survive this, and how in the world does he think he can be the president of the United States when he can't seem to manage this economy?
Well, you are 100% correct. He is slick. He's smooth. He'll go interview with anybody, and he'll give you nothing but BS. That's who Gavin Newsom is. The other day, he said he hasn't taken any oil money. He's a wholly owned subsidiary of Getty Oil. It's crazy. Yeah. So how do we prevent this from happening again? I mean, we just got to keep our feet to the fire on this guy because he's, like you said, he'll say anything. But I do know this. I spent 10 months in the swing states of America, and the swing states of America are not going to buy this BS from Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom loves to say, as California goes, so goes the nation. We're paying $5 for gasoline today. He is incorrect.
Yeah, it's incredible because, that your governor there in California, Newsom, he's able to, what homelessness? There are no homeless people in California. What are you talking about? What drought? There's plenty of water. I mean, just incredible. What fires? There are no fires. What do you mean? We've got it all under control. I mean, the guy can say and do just about anything. But about 20,000 immigrant truck drivers are suing the state of California, DMV, for canceling their commercial driver's licenses. And this was after a federal audit found the licenses issued to these immigrants were set to expire after the time they were legally allowed to remain in the U.S., which is just incredible. There's a group of Asian Law Caucus that filed a lawsuit against the DMV, arguing there will be a devastating wave of unemployment that will harm families and the destabilization of supply chains. Now, we've seen the devastating wave of truck collisions from non-English speaking illegal aliens. I mean, it's just a terrible tragedy that's happened with these families that have suffered. What are your thoughts on this lawsuit against the DMV? This is just outrageous, in my opinion.
It is a complete outrage for them to be doing this. We're talking about public safety across America on a license given to by a state of California that to a certain extent is lawless, to be very honest with you.
Absolutely.
You can steal $1,000 in California, and as long as you don't get caught, go to the next store and get another $1,000, zero ramifications. And the people of California put an initiative to put an end to that. Guess what Gavin Newsom did? He opposed the initiative. So I'm sure he's going to go defend these truck drivers because that's what he does. He's trying to go left to win a presidential primary, but TW, let me share something with you. You said it best. Watch out for this guy. This guy is smooth and he's slick. Let's not forget, he went on Charlie Kirk. He went on with Steve Bannon. Yeah. He debated Ron DeSantis. We've got to keep our eye on the ball because let me tell you something. The people of America said no to Kamala Harris. They need to say no to Gavin Newsom.
Well, Lieutenant Governor Abel Maldonado, we need to see you on that ballot soon, sir. That's my opinion.
Thank you so much.
We know
You
that
have a
this
great
Governor
day.
Newsom is bad news for America. He's bad news for California. Thanks for being with us, sir.
TW, thank you. I've lived under him for 20 years.
Bless your heart. There's a jewel in your crown for that, sir. Top Democrats pandered to Minnesota and Somalis despite the billions stolen from our country. That and more coming up next.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
This new year only, get 50% off for 1 year when you subscribe to the Whole Health System as a preferred customer. Because the best New Year's resolutions are the easiest ones. Go to balanceofnature.com today.
He's breathing. Okay, go again.
Nearly 5,000 people die from choking each year. That's frightening. I'm Dr. Ben Carson.
And I'm Arthur Lee. But there are ways to help prevent choking. Accidents do happen. That's why I invented the Life Pack.
Anyone can use this device, and it can save a life in seconds.
Just place, push, and pull. It's that simple. Please order one for your home, office, car, anywhere you eat.
Go to lifehack.net or call 877-543-3822.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, Bat.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruits, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
Invest in Ukraine now. Ukraine is rebuilding, innovating, and shaping the future. Because Ukraine is the potential. Kyivstar is Ukraine's leading digital operator. Invests in Ukraine's connectivity, entertainment, ride-hailing, healthcare, and innovation. It's time to think opportunity. It's time to think Ukraine now.
Welcome back. Despite the billions of fraud that has been uncovered in Minnesota's Somali community, top Democrats in that state are still groveling to them. Minnesota Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan seen wearing a hijab here, declaring Somalis built Minnesota.
I am incredibly clear that the Somali community is part of the fabric of the state of Minnesota. When I think of being part of Minnesota and growing up here, the Somali community has always been a part of my Minnesota.
When will they ever learn? Welcome in Dr. Michael Savage, the host of Savage Nation, who's joining us now. Michael, Happy New Year. Welcome, sir. I mean, listen, nothing sets me off more than hearing people claim they built America. Let's be clear and set the record straight tonight. Americans built America. What's your reaction to the Lieutenant Governor there, sir?
Well, I would laugh if it was laughable, but $18 billion is an awful lot of money. You know, it doesn't grow on trees. In 2005, TW, I wrote this book, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, Liberalism is a Mental Disorder. Not totally in tongue-in-cheek, but somewhat. And as the years have gone by, we're 20 years away from 2005, liberalism has become truly metastasized as a mental disorder. But now I'm asking myself, was it really that they're mentally disordered, or they were feigning mental illness in order to rob the treasuries of every state that they reside in and they manage, as we are seeing? You mentioned Gavin Newsom a few minutes ago, your great guest. Well, I was the second guest that Gavin interviewed after Charlie Kirk, and we had a very spirited debate. You can find it on his on his social media. I didn't let him off the hook, but I didn't have to attack him.
I'm glad you did.
In order to make my points, you know.
I'm glad you didn't let him off the hook. But Michael, talk to me about this story out of Somali. I mean, why in the world would a sitting lieutenant governor, when a community is under the gun for embezzling, committing fraud in the tunes of billions of dollars, why in the world would she show up in a hijab at this particular moment? Why?
Well, she's known for her antics in this manner before. Just look at her face. She's a lunatic. But she's obviously involved in ways much deeper than meet the eye. You know, they all have something to do, in my estimation, with money coming straight up into their coffers in ways we don't know. I don't know if this one's directly involved, but $18 billion sure greased a lot of skids to keep this scam going. You've been running all day long on Newsmax clinics that don't exist, schools that don't exist, boarded up this and that don't exist, and they're collecting hundreds of millions or billions of dollars a year.
And it all
somebody is collecting that money.
That's right, and it all happened under Tim Walz's watch. I mean, you know, this was a guy who had been, you know, notified with numerous whistleblowers who were shut down basically by the government, and this amount of fraud was still allowed to happen. But I do want to switch topics a little bit here, Michael. We know the president's economy. I mean, Trump has delivered on his promise. A lot of economic wins to the end of the year. You know, the drill baby drill policy is working. Oil and gas production in the United States has made gas prices fall. Oil and gas prices right now, a barrel of oil is about $69 a barrel. That's a $12 decrease since Biden was in office. What do you make of this policy? Was this the right way to bring oil down? And why does the price of oil matter so much to stabilizing and fueling an economy?
Here in California, I'm paying $5.30 a gallon. So where is the other $3 going? It's going into the state of California's treasury, which is stealing the money. The roads are broken. You go over the Golden Gate Bridge, the road is still broken. Nothing is being fixed on our roadways. Where is the money going? They're stealing the $3 in taxes that's supposed to go for highway funds. Now, the issue is everything is pegged to the barrel of oil. There's no question about it. As oil falls, everything else should fall. But I don't want to jump the gun here and say everyone's doing better, because, TW, they're not all doing better, whether it's in California or elsewhere. People are still screaming about the cost of goods, about the cost of food, about the cost of living, the cost of housing and taxation in states and such. So I do not believe that everything is coming up roses, despite Trump's economic miracle in some
Michael,
ways.
But I think we got to put that in context, right? I mean, when you're in a hole, and the president has, you know, Biden put us in the hole. There's no question about that. The president has us about halfway or 3/4 out of the hole. Things are a lot better, but you're still in a hole, and it takes time to get out of it. So I think the Trump policies are working. It's just, it takes time. And once the big, beautiful bill gets set in, I think we're going to see a lot of movement. Last question to you, 20 seconds. What's the biggest accomplishment, the biggest news story for President Trump in 2025, in your opinion, sir?
Well, let's start with what you were talking about earlier today. The first president in a long time who stood up for Christians who were being slaughtered and did something about it, didn't just say something about it. He's trying to end the war between Hamas and Israel. God prayed that he ends the war between Russia and Ukraine, where men are killing each other for virtually nothing. So he's a peacemaker. When he first ran in 2015, I said we need a businessman, not a politician. And I think we have a businessman, not a politician, who really cares about human life.
Dr. Savage, always a pleasure, sir. Thanks for being with us. Have a good evening and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, TW. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I want to keep this conversation going on the Trump economy. Coming with me now, we know the president has delivered massive wins as we see a hyper growth in the economy. all thanks to the promises made, promises kept with things like his big, beautiful bill, which passed earlier this year. We've seen tariffs earning this country over $500 billion, deregulation, as we mentioned before, lower oil prices and lower interest rates, and we can expect to see so much more positive growth in the coming year. The president writing on Truth Social, the tariffs are responsible for the great USA economic numbers just announced, and they will only get better. Also, no inflation and great national security. Pray for the U.S. Supreme Court. The Supreme Court will ultimately make the decision whether President Trump has legal rights to apply tariffs or not. This is a decision that's expected early in 2026. Joining me now is Mr. Dick Morris, the one and only advisor to President Trump. He's with us. Welcome, Dick, and Happy New Year, sir.
Happy New Year to you. Merry Christmas.
I'd like you to expound with all of your wealth of knowledge, sir, on the Trump economy. It seems like to me it's just knocking it out of the park and exceeding all expectations. What are your thoughts, sir?
It is, but it takes a little while for it to trickle down to everybody. What the Democrats were doing is they first said nobody can solve the economy. Then they said Trump can't because his policies are wrong. Then they said, well, Trump's policies are okay, but they're creating massive inequality. And now they're saying, well, things are getting better, but they're still not affordable. And that series of fallbacks are really the best indicator of Trump's progress. The point is that the tariffs have produced massive revenue that is gradually filtering down to the people. And I believe that once the court rules that the tariffs are legal, I think Trump is going to go ahead with a $2,000 per person rebate. And that'll be hard for the Democrats to say it's not helping.
It's incredible, isn't it? Well, we know, as you mentioned, historic achievement in economic growth, right? There's been a 79% increase in the rate of U.S. GDP growth since Biden's last full quarter last year. How does the president, though, Dick, keep this momentum going? Great first year, but we got 3 more years to go. How do we keep the momentum moving forward in the right direction?
Big part of it is the momentum for what he's already done taking effect. The tariffs are just beginning to take effect. There's going to be a major Social Security refund when the tax exemption of Social Security kicks in. And many people are not taking advantage of the tax cuts yet because they're not eligible for them yet.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're talking no tax on tips. That's going to be huge for the economy. There's so much to be said for the big, beautiful bill. Closing 30 seconds, sir. What do you expect for the new year when it comes to peace in the Middle East? Do you think we're going to see a movement there with the agreement between when Netanyahu comes to Mar-a-Lago next month?
Yeah, I think that the key thing there is that Trump has stopped the Emirates, the wealthy countries near Saudi Arabia, from funding Hamas. And by cutting off their revenue, he has Hamas over a barrel. And I think that's something not just a businessman, but a smart guy can figure out how to do. Yeah. And just as Hamas was able to run, just ISIS was able to run wild because nobody was cutting off their revenue.
Such a good point.
Cut off Hamas's revenue, and it really is working.
Dick Morris, it's always a pleasure. Sorry, I'm out of time, sir, to cut you off. It's always a pleasure having you on. Thank you for your insight and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Coming up, a Christmas message from Tim Walz's daughter. That's next from the left.
Today, I am holding all of our neighbors that ICE has been terrorizing near and dear to my heart.
The poverty is unimaginable. There are people who are struggling.
This is where she washes the dishes.
If you're ever going to allow your Christian faith to rise and to do something for God's chosen people, now is the time.
This is the home of Galina. She's 96 years old.
This is what she had to eat for today.
She has one pot with water and wheat.
My father was killed by the Nazis, and I was an orphan. I didn't know about God. But now, in the cold, hungry nights, I pray for food to the God I've never known. There are good people that love you.
You see the tears. Scripture says joy can come in the morning, and you can be the reason.
If you will bless these hurting children of Israel, you will receive God's blessing in return.
Your urgent gift today of $25 will help Rush, a survival food box filled with life-saving essentials. If you call right now, your gift's impact will be doubled to help save lives. Call, scan, or go online now.
I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I don't know how much longer she could have waited for us to come.
I can't even grow my food anymore. What will happen to me? I'm doomed to starve.
Tens of thousands of elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union are living in extreme poverty, hungry, and forgotten. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can bring them hope.
Eggs. It's my favorite food. May you be blessed.
You say to them, we see you and we're here to help.
If you call right now, your gift's impact will be doubled to help save lives.
Guys, it's time to get what you want. With help from Ageless Male Max, a doctor-recommended solution for boosting testosterone right at its source. Be the man you want to be.
Samaritan's Purse is ready to show the love of Christ to people in the most difficult circumstances. But we can't go without you. With your support, we can build homes, heal hearts, provide critical relief, and bring hope to a world in need. Donate now at SamaritansPurse.org. Let's get to work in Jesus' name.
Anybody who's struggling with alcohol should try Or Health. Within a week, the cravings were completely gone. Or Health is safe, science-backed, and it works. I couldn't believe how easy it was. Alcohol doesn't run my life anymore.
Text Newsmax to 710-710 to learn more.
All right, time now for news from the left. 'Tis the season, many Americans waiting a safer Christmas this year, asking Santa to remove more illegal aliens from this country. DHS in the festive spirit for mass deportations, telling illegal aliens to fly home for the holidays. For some reason, Democrats can't seem to understand what it is that Americans really want. They want an end to mass migration in this country, the removal of illegal aliens and deportation of criminal illegals harming our countries, our communities. But then again, Democrats and illegal aliens go together like Santa and his elves. We know Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's daughter, Hope Walz, wishing a Merry Christmas this year to illegal aliens in a politically charged holiday message to her followers. Take a watch.
I just wanted to say Merry Christmas to you all. Today I am holding all of our neighbors that ICE has been terrorizing near and dear to my heart and sending them love and light, as well as all of our unhoused folks and just anybody that may be struggling right now. I'm holding very close to me, and I hope that you can all do so as well. This past year has been a tough one for all of us.
It's been a tough year for me. Only people it's been tough for in this country is illegal aliens. But I think it's safe to say the Walz family got lots of coal in their stockings this Christmas, and it wasn't clear and beautiful either. But Hope isn't the only one with the tone-deaf message. We know Florida Congressman Debbie Wasserman Schultz acting very grinchy this Christmas, still coming to the defense, of course, of illegal aliens.
The undocumented immigration that he says is a violent threat to our nation, when most people who they are deporting are not criminals and are simply here, who are being rounded up.
Incredible. I'm going to welcome in now Tim Graham. He's the executive editor of Newsbusters, and Dan Schneider, the vice president for free speech at the Media Research Center. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks, TW.
So, Tim, the Democrat Party is still not getting the message that Americans don't want illegal aliens in this country. What more can the Trump administration do to finally convince them and convey that message, sir?
I don't know what they can do. I mean, Hope Walz sounds like the media. They all use this same weirdo lingo. They're terrorizing our neighbors. That's what they call enforcing the immigration laws. Hope Walz doesn't care about what happened to Laken Riley, what happened to Rachel Morin, what happened to Jocelyn Nungaray, murdered, raped by illegal immigrants. I don't see her feeling so sensitive on TikTok about the people who are dead. So we're not buying it. Stop using all this lingo about how the illegal aliens are our neighbors.
No, that's exactly right. Dan, what say you? I mean, these Democrats, there's just no end to what they won't do and won't say in defense of illegal aliens. It seems to me the only people left for the Democrat base are illegal aliens and insurance executives who keep benefiting off of Obamacare subsidies.
Well, TW, you said it exactly right. There's nothing that they will not say, including what Hope's own father said when he was running for vice president. He said, just elect me vice president, Kamala Harris president, get us a majority in the House and Senate, and we'll pass the laws necessary to address this illegal alien problem. They promised the American public, just elect them, and they will start removing illegal aliens. And now that Donald Trump is actually doing it without all of that so-called authority that was necessary, now suddenly the media and Hope, they're all changing their tune, saying how terrible it is.
Yeah, it's incredible. You know, Tim, Dan just mentioned Kamala Harris, and, you know, a lot of people consider her maybe one of the biggest Grinches of the Democrat Party. She's now giving dating advice. The failed presidential candidate, she's claiming that mocking her cackle, she says that's sexist.
I don't aspire to be humble. Humility, yes, is very important. And it's very dated, if not just traditional, but a very dated perspective on who women should be. To say women should be humble, women should be quiet, women should laugh quietly. Women should not have a sense of humor. Women should not raise their voice. Women should not experience, at least openly, anger. Women should not complain, right? I have never felt burdened by those very dated and I think out of touch standards.
I mean, Tim, I don't exactly take dating advice from Kamala Harris, and I don't think anybody else in America does, but I think her cackle is fair game. In fact, I think it's actually endearing for her. It made her kind of more human, but it is a hilarious cackle that people are able to make fun of. Do you think it's sexist?
No. And she sounds so much like Hillary Rodham Clinton, or as I like to call her, Hillary Doormat Clinton, because she always tolerated Bill doing everything. No, the fact of the matter here is there's so much wrong with the way she ran for president, and she's making up a complete cartoon here. I don't remember any of us saying, oh, don't laugh. Yeah. Oh, don't say anything. Oh, be quiet. She's making all of that up.
Tim, I think you're right. I'm sorry, sir. Forgive me.
Stop being a disaster.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think you're right, but I don't think we can leave out Joe Biden, the way he double-crossed Kamala Harris as well. It's incredible. But Tim Graham, Dan Schneider, I'm out of time. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us. Happy New Year.
Thank you,
Happy New Year.
From classic carols to modern hits, New Yorkers tell us their favorite Christmas songs, plus some surprising sing-alongs you don't want to miss. That and more coming up next.
You know Rob Finnerty. He's smart, bold, and stands strong for your values. Rob is fighting for you. Watch Finnerty weeknights only on Newsmax.
Hurry in for huge savings going on now at Motorhome Specialist, now with 2 locations. Shop and save on over 1,000 motorhomes, starting at $69,995, only at Motorhome Specialist, the #1 motorhome dealer in the world.
As a neurologist, my patients are often concerned with age-related memory decline. I recommend Cunol Brain Health with 2 powerful, high-absorption ingredients clinically shown to improve memory, focus, attention, and more. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Drop is finally here. Drop delivers the weight loss benefits of GLP-1 injections in easy-to-use oral drops, no needles.
That's right. The 2 big drawbacks with weight loss injections are high costs and weekly injections. Drop is flavorless and odorless, so you can just add it to water or your favorite beverage. Drop offers other advantages over injections too. With Drop, you can personalize your dosage based on your weight loss goals.
And because you add Drop to any liquid, there's no concern about injection site infections, bruising, or dosage confusion.
Drop is the easier, safer, cost-effective alternative to help you achieve your weight loss goals without the needles.
Can't find it anywhere? The Wellness Company has it. No consultation needed. Simply order online and use promo code SLIM to save $100. Visit dropthepounds.com/slim. That's promo code SLIM at dropthepounds.com/slim.
Your data is like a single domino.
the moment it's stolen. It starts a chain reaction that puts the information that guards your assets at risk. 1 in 3 Americans have been a victim of identity theft. Are you willing to risk it?
When I saw zeros on that screen as my bank account balance, I went to immediate panic.
$21,000 just gone. I opened my account and $30,000 is missing. Like $30,000. I have no idea what to do.
If your personal information is stolen, are you prepared to pick up the pieces alone? LifeLock is the leader in identity theft protection and restoration.
Once LifeLock got involved, everything changed.
With LifeLock, if your identity is stolen, they'll step in and fix it so you don't have to, guaranteed. Our highly trained U.S.-based restoration specialists contact institutions, dispute fraudulent charges, close compromised accounts, and even procure legal support far beyond the capabilities of your bank or credit card company.
LifeLock pursued this case further than I ever would have imagined.
If you call right now, you'll get LifeLock for just $9.99 a month for your first year. And as extra protection, all LifeLock memberships include the $1 Million Protection Package. Our members receive reimbursement for stolen funds and personal expenses, like lost wages, as well as coverage for lawyers and experts up to $3 million in total.
When the bank refused to reimburse my stolen money, the $1 Million Protection Package came through for me.
Our restoration guarantee and $1 Million Protection Package are included in all memberships with no additional fees.
I think it's natural to think that you can do this on your own. You can't. You need an expert in your corner.
Call 1-800-360-9220 and use promo code TV35 or go to lifelock.com/TV35 to join today.
Finally tonight, the Christmas season is the time of year where everyone can sing along to their favorite Christmas songs, like Mariah Carey's obvious All I Want for Christmas Is You, or Jingle Bells. We hit the streets of New York to find out everyone's favorite song. Take a listen.
What is your favorite Christmas song?
All I Want for Christmas Is You, Mariah Carey.
Oh, I love that song. All right, give some to me. Come on, let's sing it.
She's a singer.
Go
ahead.
Do it.
No, I can't do
that. Last Christmas. Yeah? Give me some. Sing it to me.
Last Christmas,
I gave you my heart.
I don't know more.
Everybody, come on.
You gave it away this year.
There we go.
From here, I'll give it to someone special.
All I want for
Christmas is you. The most beautiful time of the year.
What?
All right. I should be playing in the winter snow. I'm gonna be under the mistletoe.
Jingle bells. Give some to me right now. Come on, let's go. Jingle bells, jingle bells,
Jingle all the way. Santa Claus is coming around, riding on his hay.
Wrong. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn king. That's it for me.
I love it.
Well, for an Oklahoma boy, it looks like New Yorkers are known for their busy streets, subways, and pizza, but not their great singers. It's been a joy. Thank you for joining us tonight. And TW Shannon, my good friend Rob Finnerty. His show is up next. Thanks, guys.